Hey, this is tutorial number 13. The tutorials 9 through 12. The code for that will be posted on the website inclusive, so you'll have one posting for 9 through 12. Actually, I'm sorry, 10 through 12. I take that back. 7, 8, and 9 were in one, and now 10, 11, and 12 will be in one. This is 13. We're going to just run this for a minute. Let me just, whoops, sorry. We're going to run the app right now as we have it. So it comes up. We want to add a picker on this one. Well, first thing here, we don't have a title. We want that. And this key here doesn't error out anymore. We've put the code in, at least for the method for this key. So we want to get this title here. I want a title to be dynamic as well, not just static. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in our root view controller method where we did select row at index path. Why? Well, in order for this to be dynamic, in order for us to use the item selected, we have to do it here. If we were to do it in the detail view controller, the item no longer is within scope. We lose it here. Either we use it here or we lose it here. So we're going to do it here. It's really easy code when you think about it. Create the initial string, and that really is for the selected item. Alright? Okay. And that looks something like this. We're going to call it the endString class. We're going to create something called endSQL, or you can call it whatever you want. We'll call it end. I use endSQL when I do a SQLite. We'll call it endString. And we're going to set that equal to. We're looking at the selected cell here, right? And in the selected cell there's properties. We have the text label, which is really the one we want. And we want the text. So that's basically going to give us the initial string to be set up for the selected cell text label text. So whatever we select will be made into this string. And now we're going to create the title of the new view. And we're going to just put in parentheses dynamic here, right? Sorry. Okay. So for that one, we need to then reference what? The new view, which is detail view controller, right? And that's going to have a property, you guessed it, title. Now, if we did it here, it would be self, because self is about this class. But because we're doing it here, where this detail view controller object variable is created, we can access or have access to the title. We're going to set that equal to. I'm going to throw a bracket in. We're going to bring up the endString variable we created, right? And then we're going to call something interesting, a string by appending format. So we're going to append something to this with this method. We're taking the string, we're calling the string by appending format up to append to this string. And we're going to add in, you're going to like this one, apostrophe S and page. Okay? And we're going to close it in braces, and there we go. So the new title for the detail view controller will be endString, append to this new string to the selected text label text, append apostrophe S page. So watch what happens. It's pretty neat, actually. I don't think it's difficult code. We choose happy and we get happy's page. Now if we could have chosen doc, we would have doc's page, and grumpy would have had grumpy's page as well. And this is why we really prefer to be able to push one view controller for all these items here. But for now, we just do this one. So we've created the title, happy's page. Alright, we're going to look at this key here, and we want to create our picker view, and we want to look at the pickers at least one picker here and get some sort of data into it as well. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new set of files here, which is the first and most important thing. Our Cocoa class, Cocoa Touch, UI View subcontroller, UI View controller subclass, I should say. And remember here we had table view or view controller. We're going to leave it as view controller with the nib. And we're going to call this one, let's see, we'll call this add qual picker, add quality picker. Okay, we're going to save that, and that gets placed right here. As you can see, we're going to drop our nib into the views, leave these babies here, and save it. Okay. Now, first thing we have to do in our picker class is we don't have access to the methods. We're going to call up this. You remember that we did this once before with the table view? If I jump over to the table view quickly here, see we have a source and a delegate on this view controller. It's a specific one, a table view. On this one here, we need to do the same thing. So we have a picker data source, and we have a picker delegate. Always enclose them in greater than and less than signs. Right? And save it. Alright. So what we then have to do here at this point is we're going to go over to the detail view controller, right, in here, and we're going to look at that method again that we set up, which is, hang on, I think I jumped it. Where are you? There it is. Right here. Right? We first need to access the picker, right? The picker class. And I'm hoping, alright, those are fine. These are implementation issues. We're okay with that. We don't want to see any red errors here, which we shouldn't. Sometimes if you don't save things properly, you'll pick up an error, but we're okay. We're going to come down here. I jump it. There it is. Okay. We're going to, you guessed it, we've done this before. We have to call the class first and create the variable. We'll call this new picker equals bracket bracket add the add qual picker again, allocate, initialize with nib name. So we've seen this before, and it's nothing really new. The nib name, of course, is right here, add qual picker, right? And the bundle, of course, is a nil. We don't have any bundling on there, and we're done there. So we're going to write here, create the picker instance. Right? That's really what we're doing there. And then here, make the picker the navigation controller. Controller's a new view. Right? And this one you've seen too, right? Self navigation controller equals I'm sorry, navigation controller self dot navigation controller, and actually this is going to have to go in brackets as well. We're going to call a method. Every time you call a method, you got to put things in brackets, right? Push view controller. We're going to push, and we're going to push our new picker, right? And we're going to animate that. Say, yeah, we want to see animation on that. And then, of course, release the picker variable, or release the picker. And of course, new picker release, right? Beautiful. This is pretty, and you're going to see this again and again and again. And this is done here. Now the only thing is we can't run the picker because we haven't what? We haven't properly implemented it. Okay? Before we do the implementation, I'm going to run over to the nib. Alright, the nib, if we look at the file's owner here, which we're on, let me just highlight that again. It's the class, right? Which is what it should be. Every time your file's owner in your nib should be linked to the class, or the two, well, the implementation class and the declaration class that you're going to interact with it. If it doesn't, it won't work properly. But we created this by doing a file new, and it did it. Right? So it did it. So you always make sure it's correct, but it always is when you create a new file. Hope that's clear. Again, this class has to be there because this view requires information from the declaration and implementation files. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back for just a second. We need to put a picker in there. And there's two possibilities here, date and picker view. We're going to grab the picker view, the typical picker view in there. Right? We're going to place that in there for now. Right? And we also, while we're here, we're going to go back to our picker declaration file, and we're going to use a UI picker view method and declare, we're going to call it add picker, an add picker variable. And then what we're going to do here is create the property, right? Non-atomic retain. Suddenly as you do this stuff, it sinks in. It's an IB outlet, by the way. You can have an outlet or an action or a collection on an outlet. We just want the outlet. And we're going to just copy this again here. Right? We need the outlet because we need to connect the outlet with what we just put into the nib. We're getting this warning because we have to what? Synthesize. Create setters and getters for that variable. And I'd like to get into that a little bit more if I could. I know how it sounds because it isn't really all that straightforward, but it isn't that difficult either. So that's good. Now we still have the warning here. We're going to go back to the nib for a second. Right? In the nib we're going to double click here. Now notice our picker needs a data source and a delegate. Remember we specified that here. Data source and delegate. We did that for a reason. We need that. We need to hook into it so we can let that operate on the picker. So the information in those files will then determine what happens with the picker. And of course this new referencing outlet, surprise, the add picker variable. So we do these things for a reason. We have to make it a delegate and a data source so we can get the information to run the picker, and we have to have the variable so as an instance of that to as well run the picker. So that's all linked up. Everything's nice there. The only thing I'd like to do too is I'm going to drop in for right now. We're not going to use this for the moment. I'm going to drop in a, I'm sorry, was that a text field? I want a button. Let's go get a button. Make sure I got a button over here. There it is, round rectangular button. Okay. And you notice as I'm dragging these things, lines pop up. This line here determines, it'll tell you where center is, and it'll also tell you how close to the edge you're getting. Right? We're going to bring it as far as we can. You don't go beyond that. You don't want to. It's a pretty big button. We can shorten it if we want, but it gives you a good idea of how these things work. I'm going to drop this button down, and you can line things up with this when you do it. Okay, so that's good. We're done with our nib for right now, and the big one right now is, of course, our implementation. We're going to come down here for a moment, and we need methods here. And there are two major methods we need. An integer method, right, called picker view number of components. And that's, as you can guess, the number of components in the picker, or the number of wheels, to be more specific. and the other one is number. I'm sorry, number of. This is number of components in the picker, or number of wheels. This is number of rows for each wheel, within each wheel. And so these two are at a minimum. We need them right now. We are going to put in here, and again we have to return whatever the variable is here. It's an integer in this case. We're going to return 1. Okay, for that one. And over here, we are going to here return 4. Okay. And build it. Let's see. Okay, so we're good there. No issues now. If we were to run this, let's run it at this point so you can see that we can actually run the picker. Here's Happy's page, and there's the picker. It comes up, but no information's there. Now you notice the 4 question marks. Why? 4 values to return, but nothing to return in those values. And of course, 1 component. I'm going to play some games here right now. We're going to put in 3. And just to show you what happens there, it's good to know what these things do, because when you know what they do, here's 3 components, right? And finally, we're going to go to 5. Now, word of warning, you only have so much real estate on the screen, so using more than 5, in my opinion, is not prudent. I've seen this many here done in a simulated slot machine, and it's fun, but I wouldn't go that far. Okay, so we're going to return 1 here. We're going to go to another method as well. There's a floating one that returns a float. Alright. Actually, believe it's a float. And hang on a second. Oh, I know why. I'm in this method. I got to go to outside of the method. My mistake here. Do it again. NSF. That's a float. Right. And there we go. There are the 2 methods. So we have a row height and a row width. We're going to put both in here for the time being, just to kind of play around here. And there actually are 5. There actually is 1 more after this one. And the next one is width. Alright, we're going to put the width in here. Again, it's going to return a floating number. We're going to call it 75. A floating means a floating decimal. You could go 75.5. It's not an integer. An integer is a whole number. So I'm going to just leave it at 75. I'm not going to play around with that kind of a thing right now. And if I'm going too fast, email me please and say, hey, slow down, Art. And Art will slow down. So here we go. We're going to run this to show you what happens here. And that's it. We just said, okay, set the width of the component to 75. Without that method in there, it maximizes, as you saw before, the space. Right? So that is what that does. I'm going to comment this out with a special, the /***, and this one here. Now I'm going to put, again, return a float here. I'm going to return 10. Show you what this does. This is the row height for the component. And you see everything's bunched up. You really can't select anything in this window. This is the window with which you select. And I'm going to go then to, let's say, 30. Oops, sorry. And run that again. And a little bit better, what I found is that 50 is the default for this, which corresponds to the actual default width, or height I should say, for the rows, and you can move them in and so forth. Well, that's what I found. Whoops, that I have found. We're going to then comment this out as well. Those are the methods I wanted to show you. You can play with them, monkey with them, whoops, if you want. Sky's the limit. There's one final method we need. Remember, we have to put data in here. And there it is. It's an string method. It returns a string variable from the picker view, title for row, and so on. Now, in order for us to return data here, we have an option. You could put the data in, if you wanted to, in this class and fill it up in the picker. Or you can, guess what, access the demo app delegate. I prefer to do that because by accessing the demo app delegate, I can get my pipeline from there. And when you're dealing with something like SQLite, that makes sense because the information can then be pulled out of the database and put into the picker, and I've done that. And we'll show you way down the line that we're going to import the demo app delegate here. We're going to come over here, create a class. Why? We need to access the demo app delegate variable, right? We're going to call this one app delegate, right? Okay. Now we're going to just come over here to our hierarchy, and you see here we have our add picker object and variable, and we have our app delegate variable only, right? The object was created here, the variables are here. Okay, so this side of it's done here. We need to then fire up the pipeline, as I always say. We're going to do it over here. Remember that? We're going to say app delegate equals bracket UI application shared application and delegate. And now we have now access to the information in the app delegate. Now I'm going to come over here pardon me, and we are going to then say app delegate. We don't want to use the list array, we want to use the quality array, and we want to then, we now access that array, we want to make that the objects in the picker view. So let's see if I remember how to do this one again. Okay, so not set array. No. We need to. Oh boy, I'm drawing a blank, and I shouldn't be because this is simple enough to do. Let me just go to one that I did. Sometimes the code eludes me. File, open recent. Hang on a minute, people. And this one, my big app. Right here. Okay. And yeah, we're just returning it. We're just returning it. As we do everything else, we're returning it. Let's do it again. So we're going to return app delegate qual. Sometimes the simplest things are the ones that elude you the most. We're going to just return the object at the index, which is a string, and the integer is now. Remember in in our root view controller, whenever we had a table view, we had index path row. That row. There is no index path row. This is an integer. It's simply the row. And that's how you know that. And there we go. So in each one of these we have to return something. We're returning a string in this case. It's at the app delegate quality array, the object at the index row. We're going to run that for a moment. And picker comes up, and here we go. And this is the same. I'm just coming back here. These four here have now been filled into our picker. And you could have, again, had your own array in the app delegate to fill up this particular array. What I like to do with SQLite is to pick up, let's say, one of the tables and fill the picker with the objects in one of the tables and do it that way. The other question you might be asking me is, why now is this array sorted? Because in the app delegate we have it sorting it. So it will be sorted. Okay. E.g., right, KN. Now, if you wanted to have more than one, let's see what would happen if you had more than one component. My guess is you're going to see both filled up. And it should be your guess too, because we haven't specified which, and there we go, we haven't specified which components get what data. When we come back in tutorial number 14, I am going to show you how you specify the data in each component. And when we do that, you're going to like that, because it teaches you how to fill each wheel with data and what data to fill it with. And we're going to create two new arrays for our demo app delegate and access them here and fill them in the picker view. And then what we're going to do when we get to 15, that tutorial, is we're going to select something from the picker view, or the picker I should say, and place it in the table view. What I'm going to do is in 14 I'm going to show you, we're going to use two arrays. We're going to fill this picker with two different arrays. Show you how that's done. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to only use one picker and get the information from the one picker and place it here. I'm going to ignore this wheel. But you could as easily pick up both pieces of information. We're going to show you how to do that as well. So we'll see you in tutorial 14, and after that, of course, 15, where we start to learn more about pickers and what they can do. And then at some point, I just want to go back for a second, there's a thing called a dynamic picker, and a lot of people want these, and I've done these before, where if I select easy, let's say, nice will come up. Alright, if I select good, let's say, good kind would come up. Some kind of link to information. Now that's very difficult to do, but not impossible with static arrays. When you have SQLite, where you're basically doing a query of information, it's easier to do that. We can still do it, it's just a little bit harder to do. But that may be in tutorial 16. So right now, we're going to close out tutorial number 13, and I'll see you for tutorial number 14, where we go into pickers a little bit further. Take care.